what is a better way to dispose of trash? Because all the way back to biblical times, and there's biblical evidence of this, burning trash.
Yeah.
So you see the country boys do it. It's like, oh, we're just going to burn everything because we don't have services that come out here.
So I watched a very, very cool explaining this, how Singapore does it. Singapore is a city-state, a city country, right? They produce 25% of their energy by burning their trash.
Okay.
They
Wait,
do
wait.
it underground.
25% of their energy.
Energy for their electricity is 25%. They do.
So I'm guessing they do this in like a enclosed in the ground.
It is enclosed underground.
So they don't have ghost fires or spark fires
Nope,
out of nowhere.
So
They
they're
even found
using
a
it
way
like we
to-
use coal.
What's that?
They're using it like we use coal.
Basically,
turning
yes.
a byproduct
Yes.
that's useless into a product that they can reuse
Correct.
into their industry to power them.
Well,
Correct.
I can tell you right now is I think that there does it, cycling into that, because in order for that to happen, I think that there needs to be a cultural change in America, which we were getting to when I was a kid, because recycling was starting to get popular and now it's fallen off.
What's
right.
recycling?
Right. Like
Sadly.
it's hard. It's actually harder to recycle now than it used to be.
Oh yeah.
Oh, agreed.
Um,
Because now the recycling services is like, well, we don't take glass. We don't take this. We don't
Yeah.
take this.
No,
we don't take
they
this.
do, but they only take a specific type of glass or a specific type of plastic, because not all plastics are created equal. You learn this when you work with 3D printing.
Yeah.
You have multiple different varieties of plastic, and just because it's a plastic bottle you bought and another one you bought from the same store does not mean they're the same type of plastic.
So I realistically think that what we need is we need to make a more robust plastics recycling, glass recycling, aluminum recycling, anything that can be recycled industry. So all the metals, all the organics, anything that can truly be recycled, right?
There
Because-
was one thing I saw.
What?
Where for the recycling of the glass, someone ended up doing it where they have the glass that they get recycled, they will pay you 5-10 cents. Kind of
Mhm.
like how in Europe there is a fee you take out
Oh.
or if you buy something
So,
and then
the-
you
It
have
used
to
to be a
return
thing
it
back in
to
the day.
thing.
Yep, I
Yeah.
know. Rob, me and Rob are on the same thing.
Yep.
This used to be a thing with a bunch of different companies that if you brought it back to the distributor, you would get 2-3 cents, and kids would also buy baseballs.
Mhm.
Timepiece of the time.
Yep.
We would buy baseballs, which also goes into another topic we talked about before. The military has always moved and made things based off of what's popular at the time. Well,
The football
baseball,
grenade.
grenades.
Yeah.
So we have all these different things,
Yeah.
but we used to have this, which is Rob's totally
Yeah,
gonna touch
I was
on this.
12 years old. This was 1989. I was in a small southeastern Ohio town, and they still did very much the 5-cent deposit for your glass bottle for soda. And so what me and my brother did, because we were at my grandma's and they didn't have a lot of money, my mom and dad didn't have a lot of money, we were staying with them in the summer, is we go around, we collected all these glass bottles, and we went by the local mom and
Go
pop
and rate
grocery
them
store,
all. Yep.
and we got 5 cents per. And they would give us the container to carry them on. So we take like 36 back at a time. And
Yep.
we just use that money and we buy our little candies and
Yep.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
awesome.
So
But they
so-
actually used it. They recycled it. Unlike, what we see unfortunately in some exposés is that, oh, I throw in my recycling. I think I'm doing a good thing, and then it just goes to the same freaking dump.
Yeah,
And-
I think that
That
this
bothers
comes into a
Yeah, it does.
control a cultural aspect, and also, by the way, I need you to not just take the recycling and dump it, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
that needs to be a fine.
Yeah. Well,
I need our dumps to not be a thing.
Yeah.
Essentially, that's what I'm saying. Is I need
Yeah.
our dumps to not be a thing.
because
And-
what are they actually? All they are is landfill,
correct.
Yep.
and they're landfill so we can what? Eventually make them commercial property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every single landfill, for most part,
Mhm.
to date, I'd say 80%. I'm pretty confident on that one. Has become a major industry location.
Mhm.
Where I work, landfill.
Mhm.
Most of the area, greater area,
Yeah.
including where you guys work, was a landfill at a time.
Yeah.
Because why? Well, we had all these hills. Well, of course, we're just off of hill country.
Yeah.
So how do we make it more flat?
Yep.
No, let's just throw all our crap in it.
Yep.
Well, this area is more radioactive or more crappy or chemically wasteland. It's like,
And the other problem is with these landfills is that they output methane
yep.
to just a ridiculous degree.
So what do? Let's put residential right next to it.
Well, and we don't capture that methane because you can actually capture that methane from
And
those
reprocess
landfills
it.
and reprocess it and use it for what?
Power.
Yep.
But we don't do that.
Yeah.
We get this in every base building game we get. It's like,
Yeah.
oh well, the byproduct is this. Okay, we'll use this somewhere else.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
But we can't use the same methodology, in our everyday life.
Yeah.
So it's not that we can't, it's a matter of fact of the ways that we would go about doing it does not seem as cost effective at the time.
I would push it a step further. Who am I impacting by reprocessing this? Who
Mm.
gets paid for this? Again, talks about the government always getting
Who
something
do we
extra.
have to pay for this?
Possibly, somebody to incentivize it, right?
Yep.
You know, I need somebody that's going to take all the aluminum and do this. That's going to take all the metal and do this. Take all the plastic and they're going to do it something properly. Get all the old tires.
Oh,
You know,
back to what I was saying with the
Yep.
glass bottles though. There was someone about my age who they ended up repurposing an old factory and they would go around collecting glass bottles from college campuses and schools. And they would separate them, grind it into powder, and then sell it to glass blowers. Because it was already sorted into the different types of glass.
Yep.
Yep.
It would get ground up, turned into a powder type substance, and then it could be melted easier. The glass blowers could use it, and they would buy the glass waste that would have been thrown out. So the person was making a profit off of recycling the
So-
product.
There's always a way to make profit off of recycling, right? I say that. There are some recyclings that do need to be subsidized because they are not profitable, but subsidizing them means that we can properly dispose of them.
You need a startup, and
Like
my
lead-
basis on this
Mhm.
is the Great Ocean Project. So
Yeah.
the Great Trash Barrier Reef, essentially in the Pacific Ocean, I think it stems like 40 some odd miles at the
it's
time.
not quite that big, but yeah.
Oh, so you know what I'm talking
I
about?
know
though.
what you're
it's
talking about,
it's a massive trash heap, and it's layers deep, to the point that everybody's like, "Oh, well, turtles. Here we go. We have this issue with them getting caught up here." Da, da, da.
Turtles are delicious.
Turtles are delicious.
Okay.
Turtle
I
soup
want
is
to
amazing.
try a turtle. I really want to try a horse.
But
Never tried
back
a horse.
to
Horse isn't good.
the
Really?
giant Pacific
Yep.
trash heap, however wide it is. I don't have the exact numbers,
Mhm.
but a student at the time decided to make a nonprofit, and
Yep.
essentially most of their money started from fundraising.
Yep.
Now most of their money comes from the cost of recycling these certain glass, plastics, and they repurpose it. That's why we see when you buy whatever for kids, it was like, this tissue paper has been reprocessed so many times, or
Yeah.
because it came from this to this to this. It was like, well,
It-
this paper's recycled, and
We have gotten to a point in America, and I would argue, well, I don't live in a lot of Western countries, but I would argue that it's a lot of these Western countries that we like to talk about how good we are for the environment and how good we are with recycling and everything
plastic straws.
without following through and actually.
Well, it's great
We'd
to-
like to pretend
it's
it's all a
great to-
show. It's all a
yeah.
show, guys.
Yeah, well, I know
You
I've met a lot of
see it.
people that won't even that the idea back in the day to even separate their recycling. They're like, nope, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. This won't be done. Or they, God forbid, they had to clean their can before they put it in the recycling bin. They wouldn't do it. They
You know what?
refused.
If you give me multiple
You know.
cans, I'll actually separate it.
Well, I know
or-
a lot of people would. And
Crazy thing, if
Yeah.
crazy thing, you give me an actual bin so I can recycle my batteries.
yeah, and I think
Yeah.
ultimately we get to the point where it could be a self-serving thing where, hey, I'm not charging you for your trash pickup because as long as you're a recycler, because I'm going to be able to recoup everything we
Yep.
get back from you. That you're an avid recycler. I promise you, this is not a lie. I'm not trying to self-aggrandize myself. I recycle 2 times more than I have trash every single week.
I think that this is one of the few
Yeah,
times
I have a bunch of recycling.
where I think it is, and you know how I feel about the government, right? I don't like the government stepping in on things. I think that this is one of the few times where I think that the government absolutely
should step in
should step in.
because this isn't just impacting me. This is impacting the world.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
I don't
hear
give
me
a
out
fuck
on
about the
this.
world.
You do.
Well,
I
No,
give a fuck about my piece of the world. However, it is affecting my piece of the world.
which
Right.
It
means
affects my
in
water
turn,
table.
it's affecting the world.
So hear me out. Hear me out.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things we can see now, the biggest thing that we could recycle, cardboard. Now,
We recycle cardboard.
with that, you can actually turn cardboard into compost. You can turn that compost
Yep.
with coffee grounds, banana peels, any fruit waste, any animal waste. Hell, depending on it, some types of human waste. You can use that with the cardboard. Now you have fertile soil. You can also use said fertile soil, depending on how off-grid or homesteading you want to go. There are farm setups. And by farm, I mean smaller than the space that this table area is, where you can have chickens, fish, and crops all on its own self-sustaining ecosystem with the byproduct
So I'll
of your cardboard.
I'll tag you on this. So the healthier we get as humanity, the more we can use our own waste as fertilizer.
Oh,
I'll also
absolutely.
say this is like, whoever has the best idea for the recycling thing, let's all come together. I believe it is a worldwide problem, but I will say this: what America does have, we have the biggest microphone in the world. We just do.
Oh, yeah.
Our cultural influence on the world
Freedom of speech.
is remarkable. Even in like countries that are communist, they look to America for their cultural influence. For crying out loud.
Oh yeah.
All right. So even if we could show that we can have a standard where this is just commonplace and we can prove that it's cost effective and we can make this work, maybe it'll set an example for the rest of the world to follow. And then, because honestly, like I know a lot of the complaints are, if we do something, it's a nick, but if China doesn't do anything, it's just a waste of our time. But if we can help influence the rest of the world, but the problem is we have to be dedicated to it, investment properly,
Yep.
all these other things. Otherwise, we are just basically just throwing our stuff in
Yep.
the dump all the time, and it's unfortunate.